A change of heart. After transmigrating into the notorious male antagonist who everyone despises, I simply gave up. The reason? My wife is a wealthy, high-status princess. We have all the money we could ever need, and I can spend it however I want to show off. I joined a celebrity couple travel reality show with my wife. While other couples were out every day busy showing affection and posing for the cameras, I was lounging in the hotel playing video games. And that's not all. I actually urged my wife to divorce me and split the assets in front of the camera. However, no one could have predicted that this fake marriage of ours would go viral. Netizens couldn't get enough of it, saying, "Real couples don't have fake sweetness. So sweet." Chapter 1. I transmigrated into the male antagonist of a novel, a blacklisted celebrity who loves to act like a diva in the entertainment industry. He falls head over heels for the lovesick second female lead, Elena, and relentlessly pursues her. But the male lead, the award-winning actor Haruto, marries someone else out of spite. Elena impulsively marries the male antagonist. After their marriage, the male lead and his wife are invited to join a couple's variety show. The original character, in order to compete with him, also participates in the show. The original character goes overboard trying to show off, constantly clashing with the male lead, but gets slapped in the face again and again, becoming the foil to highlight the male lead's happy marriage. Not only is the original character mocked by netizens, but Elena also grows increasingly disgusted. After the show ends, the two quickly divorce. The original character demands $1 billion from Elena before he agrees to leave her alone. But of course that $1 billion is soon squandered, and the original character ends up in a deep depression before passing away. The timing of my transmigration couldn't have been worse. I arrived just as the show was about to begin, and the guests were all checking into their rooms. The production team had prepared large rooms for everyone, each with a two-bedroom suite. As usual, Elena and the original character slept in separate rooms. But when I woke up, I found myself lying in her bed. She had just finished a shower, her body still moist, and her bathrobe wrapped tightly around her. Well, it looks like only the male lead gets to enjoy her good figure. Elena had her hair casually pinned up and her bangs covered one eye, but that didn't stop her from rolling her eyes at me when she saw me. She asked, "What are you doing?" Her tone was cold and distant. I awkwardly climbed out of bed, and as I lifted my hand, a packet of safety supplies fell out. Elena gave me an even more disgusted look. She said, "Milo, I've warned you before. We have no feelings for each other. It's best we keep our distance." I froze, my movement stalling. The original character's behavior was indeed inappropriate. But if you don't like him, why would you agree to be on a couple's reality show with him? So, I nodded, and just to add more effect, I clapped my hands. I smiled and said, "Well said. If we need to keep our distance, why are we even on this show? Let's just tell the production team we're not recording anymore." Chapter 2. After I said that, it was Elena's turn to be stunned. She frowned slightly and scrutinized me. "Hey, woman, what's there to look at? Standing in front of you is the real man, Milo. All I want now is to get the divorce and my share of the money so I can retire early." Elena squinted at me, and I felt my confidence wane slightly. So I stood up and glared at her from above. After a moment, she awkwardly spoke up. "The show still has to be recorded." I sneered. In the novel, Elena joined this show to see the male lead in person and to check if he and his wife were truly happy after marriage. Since she hadn't even seen the male lead yet, she was definitely reluctant to leave. But now the tables had turned, and she was the one at a disadvantage. I sneered again and said, "Well, you'd better put on a good show then." Then, I slammed the door shut. Back in my room, I comfortably flopped back onto the bed and looked ahead to my future. The variety show was scheduled to last for half a month. Once it was over, I'd divorce Elena, and from then on, I'd just sit back and enjoy the interest from the money. How sweet. I didn't care about getting closer to Elena. As long as I perfected my give-up strategy, 2 weeks would fly by in no time. I laughed to myself under the covers. The next day was free time. I slept in until 11 a.m. Meanwhile, the others had already streamed their morning activities, working out, cooking, exploring nearby tourist spots. Haruto and his wife Rina had even given the show its first viral moment in the kitchen, feeding each other. As an award-winning actor, Haruto looked great on screen, and the fans were going wild. The comments flooded in. "Wow, The male lead really knows how to pamper his wife. She's a true winner in life. What's Milo doing? He's usually so shameless, but now he's completely disappeared. He's been sleeping the whole time. Meanwhile, his wife was up early and out the door. I really don't get it. How did Milo manage to marry Lay's daughter, this beautiful and rich woman? She's kind, has money, and looks great. Unlike him, he may have some fame, but who in their right mind would hire such a blacklisted celebrity for an endorsement? The brand would be destroyed the next day. It's just not a match. I was completely immune to these comments. I washed my face, then headed downstairs. In the lobby, Haruto and his wife Rina were still in the kitchen getting cozy. They'd slice a few cucumbers and exchange sweet glances, wash some lettuce and hug each other. They volunteered to make lunch for everyone, but judging by the pace, we were going to starve before we got to eat. Haruto joked, "You finally woke up. If you hadn't, we'd have eaten lunch without you." When he saw me, he pretended to greet me like we were close. I was speechless. No need for a reminder. Netizens already knew I was sleeping in. They had already roasted me for it. I went to the fridge to grab something to eat, and Haruto approached me. He sighed and said, "Don't you know what kind of day Elena's been having? You didn't wake up this morning, and she wasn't feeling well enough to cook, so I made her a sandwich from the fridge." He had a concerned look on his face. He said, "You've married her, so stop acting so carefree. You should be taking responsibility." Seeing this, the comments lit up again. The comments went, "Wow, our male lead is such a warm guy. Unlike my husband, who just tells me to drink warm water. He's so considerate, even advising Milo to take responsibility as a husband. Milo doesn't deserve it. If you've seen his diva behavior in the news, you know there's no saving him. Honestly, I bet they'll divorce. I'm just waiting for it." I didn't bother responding. I opened the fridge where there were sandwiches, drinks, and various ingredients neatly arranged. I grabbed a sandwich and took a bite. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Haruto looked at me regretfully and said, "Do you think I'm meddling too much? I'm sorry. I just couldn't stand seeing her upset without anyone to take care of her." A vein popped on my forehead, and I couldn't be bothered to play games with him in front of the camera. I smiled and said, "Yeah, you're meddling a lot. This is food prepared by the production team. Don't get too carried away. You'd think you made it yourself. Also, Elena is allergic to peanut butter. She can't eat this." Haruto's face turned pale, and he nervously licked his lips. He awkwardly said, "I only meant well." No problem. Just like the well-meaning cooking he did for the show, 2 hours of cooking, and we still had to go out to eat in the end. I smiled and said, "Thanks for the kind gesture, but I won't need lunch today." Chapter 3. In the novel, Elena went to the hospital to visit the sick maid and didn't come back until late. Meanwhile, the original character attended an event alone and became the target of online ridicule. Comments flooded in. Winning over a rich beauty doesn't necessarily mean reaching the peak of life. Look at how pathetic he is, acting like a simp, so humble and pitiful. Yeah, I'm so humble and pitiful. So what if I get 1 billion after the divorce? Sigh, what can I do? I'm a simp. I was in the living room playing games, and the others still hadn't returned by the time night fell. I ordered takeout and casually clicked on a recommended video while eating. The suite door suddenly swung open and Elena, who had been absent all day, came back. She was wearing a black waist-cinching dress that showed off her curves, exuding a mature, womanly charm. Of course, I was unlucky enough that when she entered, the video I had just opened was talking about her anyway. Elena is the epitome of a wealthy, high-class young lady. She's simple in character with a wide range of interests, and just look at her figure, her looks. The screen was filled with her most eye-catching photos. I was speechless. I had the video volume low, so she shouldn't be able to hear, right? Apparently, Elena's hearing was just fine. She walked over and sat down opposite me. The video host continued speaking. Elena's only flaw is that she's married. But that's okay. There are plenty of beautiful women. Let's move on to the next one. I hurriedly turned off the video. The atmosphere grew awkward, and I buried my head in my food, pretending like nothing had happened. But Elena's gaze was fixed on me. Ahem. I tactically cleared my throat. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not interested in you anymore. That video I watched earlier was just me scouting for a potential remarriage partner. It has nothing to do with you. Elena furrowed her brows. Her eyes locked onto my every expression, as though she were trying to find evidence that I was lying. I met her gaze without flinching. At this point, I just wanted the divorce and my share of the assets. I wasn't interested in her body at all. I stood up to clear the takeout boxes, trying to distance myself from her. Just as I stood, Elena suddenly spoke. "You've been acting different lately." I nodded. "Haven't you heard? A wise person knows when to adapt to the situation." "I've adapted. I've come to understand my own limitations, and I won't bother you anymore." Elena didn't respond, her gaze still heavy as she studied me. I returned to my room, planning to scroll through my phone as usual, but I saw that troublesome video again. Annoyed, I sent a comment. "Don't worry, she'll soon be back on the market, untouched, good as new." Chapter 4. The first day of my let it be attitude came to an end, and on the second day, my level of apathy soared even higher. The morning assembly was at 8 a.m. While everyone else was busy preparing to head out, I simply threw on an old man's shirt and some slippers, yawning as I walked downstairs. Elena and Rena were tidying up the room while Haruto, the male lead, was helping carry everyone's big bags, and veteran actor Daniel was busy hauling the equipment for the activity. As soon as I showed up, the audience had something to say. One of the comments, "Where did this creepy old man come from? What's with the flashy bag? He's not doing any work, just trying to get attention and milk the views." I sat at the far end of the lobby, as far from Elena as possible. Surprisingly, she broke from her usual behavior and walked over to sit next to me. I was speechless. Does she have a personality disorder or something? Not only that, but I also felt like Elena was keeping a close eye on me today, her gaze lingering on me in a way that seemed like she was observing my every move. Did she hear my declaration yesterday? Is she worried I'm going to cause trouble today on the show, so she's keeping tabs on me? The task for the day was to climb a mountain and then have a picnic at the summit. I immediately approached the production team. I asked, "Do we really have to climb? I'd prefer to take the cable car." The staff seemed surprised. "If you do that, your group won't have enough material. The edited footage won't be long enough." "No problem. Am I really the kind of person to care about screen time?" I said, "I'm happy to give up my screen time for everyone else." However, the production team didn't agree. They had paid me to cause a stir. The reason I'm blacklisted and read famous for the wrong reasons is because my agency is really good at creating hype. I look somewhat similar to the male lead, so my company buys PR to get me attention. The movie we're filming together follows the same strategy. He plays the perfect romantic lead, and I play the substitute. The journey is full of chaos and rivalry. Of course, the production team wasn't about to let go of this opportunity. Since I'd signed the contract, I had no choice but to join everyone on the nanny van. Daniel, the veteran actor, held the host's script and was in charge of guiding the discussion, leading the conversation. On the van, people started sharing their stories of when they first fell in love with their spouses. Daniel and his wife became a couple because of a drama they worked on together, and they were considered the model couple in the entertainment industry. Haruto's version was more cinematic, describing how they crossed paths at a commercial event and how they instantly fell in love. Throughout the story, he subtly mentioned how much he loved his wife and how dependent she was on him. This prompted a round of envy from the viewers. Haruto then smiled and said, "Enough about me. What about you, Milo? How did you two get together?" The story of the original character and Elena was quite the spectacle, and it was incredibly awkward. One sentence, the simp ended up with nothing. The original character never even got a kiss from Elena. Haruto had bad intentions with his question. I chuckled. I begged for it, but honestly, after marrying her, it feels worse than being single. Being single is way more fun. The entire van fell silent. Everyone held their composure like good actors, their faces unreadable. No one responded. Daniel broke the silence first. He laughed. Newlyweds always have some small friction. When Jane and I first got married, we were the same. Whenever we fought, I just wanted to get a divorce right away." But just as he finished speaking, Elena lowered her head, her face turning bright red, and quietly said, "Actually, I've liked Milo since high school." I had a huge question mark on my face. Everyone else did too. I turned to Elena and asked, "Did you eat the sandwich from this morning? Did it poison you?" Chapter 5. Daniel's wife Jane came in to smooth things over. "Ha ha ha," Milo looked stunned. "Don't just stand there. Go comfort your Elena. If you don't pamper a wife like that, do you expect someone else to?" The atmosphere immediately lightened up, and the couple seemed convinced that Elena and I were at odds because of yesterday's events. I rolled my eyes at Elena out of the camera's sight, but to my surprise, she didn't get angry. Instead, her eyes, those peach blossom eyes, were fixed on me, her lips pressed tightly together. She kept staring at me, and after a while, I couldn't take it anymore. Before I even realized it, I reached out and grabbed her chin, turning her face to the other side. The touch of her soft skin sent a tingling sensation down my fingers, and I felt a shiver up my spine, the hairs on my arms standing on end. Quickly, I turned away and looked out the window, trying to steady my nerves. This entire moment was being broadcast live. The comments section flooded with reactions. One comment: I remember gossip saying these two don't have feelings for each other. Did I eat the wrong gossip? Another said, did you guys notice? Elena's eyes are practically dripping with affection for Milo. Yet another commented, but Milo just turned her face away. Elena looked so aggrieved. And someone else remarked, what the heck? Is there a bit of sweetness here? I think I'm the one who's been poisoned. The nanny van arrived at the foot of the mountain. At a normal pace, it would take about 2 hours to reach the summit. The production team announced the rules. During the climb, they had set up photo checkpoints at several scenic spots. Every couple had to take a creative and sweet photo. The couple whose photo received the most votes from the viewers would win a mysterious reward. However, for the picnic lunch at the summit, the first couple to reach the top would enjoy a lavish meal, while the last couple would only get bread. It seemed like a dilemma, but honestly, most people would choose to focus on taking photos. More camera time, more opportunity to take beautiful photos and gain fans. As for the meal, well, in the entertainment industry, who isn't a top-tier starvation expert? Haruto wrapped his arm around his wife Rina's shoulders, looking down at her with affection. Let's do our wedding photo pose one more time. The wedding photos they released when they got married were all over trending topics for an entire day. They looked amazing, and even bystanders would agree they made a perfect couple. Haruto then turned to us, smiling, and asked, what about you two? Any ideas for your photo? What ideas could there be? The original character and Elena had been married for barely 6 months before separating. They never even had a wedding. So I calmly replied, we never even took wedding photos. Haruto gasped. What? Milo, Elena never wore a wedding dress. Not to point fingers, but do you know what a wedding dress means to a woman? Sorry, I said too much. You probably have a different perspective, right? I tugged at my lips and glanced at Elena next to me. She blinked at me, not responding the way I expected, not backing up Haruto's words. I narrowed my eyes, suspicious, and observed these two carefully. The comments section exploded once again. One person, every time Milo speaks like this, it makes everyone so awkward. Doesn't he know the occasion? This is a wedding reality show, and he's sabotaging it. The production team must want to kill him by now. Someone else said, actually, the person who started it was Haruto, deliberately poking at people's sore spots. And another comment read, please, the production team loves him. This is exactly the kind of drama they need. Look at how the number of viewers skyrocketed. Chapter 6. There were 3 different routes to the top of the mountain, and each team drew lots to decide which route they would take. After the draw, everyone went their separate ways, and the once crowded group scattered. Only 3 filming crew members remained with Elena and me. At this point, it was basically like being alone together. I didn't want to talk to Elena, and just wanted to get to the top as quickly as possible to enjoy the big meal. So I buried my head and pushed forward. The only thing that bothered me was Elena constantly interrupting my pace, needing me to help her up or wait for her. We passed the first photo checkpoint. With a look of impatience, I took a picture with Elena. I said, hurry up. I'll say cheese, and you say yeah. And so, a tourist-style photo was born. But just as the camera clicked, I reflexively smiled. After the shot, the photographer nodded in satisfaction and said that we both had great ship vibes. I was speechless. No need for that. The last photo checkpoint was a vast cherry blossom forest. The weather in early April was perfect, with the sun shining and a gentle breeze causing the falling cherry blossoms to resemble snow. Elena stood in this cherry blossom shower wearing a white dress. Her whole aura became much more delicate and soft. The sight stirred something in me. If a woman has a good appearance, it's easy to deceive people. I walked over to Elena's side, stood still, and pretended to casually wrap my arm around her shoulders, planning to snap another random photo. But Elena wasn't having it. She snorted coldly and said, "You ran from 10 meters away to stand next to me." I was speechless. Is she giving me direction now? Does she even know what our relationship is? I turned off the microphone clipped to my side, nodded to her, signaling Elena to do the same. Once I confirmed the production team couldn't hear us, I said, "That's enough. Stop acting." We didn't even know each other in high school. The first time the original character and Elena met was on set. She was a fan of Haruto and went to see him. The original character fell in love with her at first sight. Elena pursed her lips and said nothing. Her gaze toward me held no affection. Instead, it seemed to hide some kind of probing. She spoke softly. "I'll add money after the divorce. I'll give you another billion." I got so excited I lost all sense of composure. My emotions were all over the place and I said, "What money? The main thing is I just want to help you out." Chapter 7. It takes a lot of skill for a photographer to capture a beautiful shot while someone is running. Luckily, the staff the production team hired were from Bizarre Wedding, experts at taking the sweetest photos of fake couples. I ran back and forth several times, but still couldn't meet the photographer's requirements. A billion. Whether I can relax after the divorce depends on now. The staff directed us. "Come on, hug her, get closer, don't stand so far apart." I reached out and pulled her closer. She lost her balance and had no choice but to grab my waist. Then I looked down at her, and our eyes met. She looked gentle, her eyes holding a faint smile. The photographer shouted, "Perfect, just like that." But the moment the photographer said, "Okay," Elena blushed and pushed me away. I was speechless. It was her idea to take the photo in the first place. She walked over to the photographer and they showed her the shot. Curious, I wanted to lean over to see it too, but Elena pouted and urged me to leave. She said, "Aren't you in a hurry to grab lunch?" Fair point. When we reached the top of the mountain, our team was indeed the first to arrive. I decided to speak to Elena. I said, "Just so you know, even if you're not happy with the photos, the payment still stands." Elena shot me a look. I felt guilty. I had earned the money way too easily. I said, "I'll give you a 9.99% discount at most." After saying that, I rushed toward the food table, eager to dive into the meal. To my surprise, the food was fresh seafood and other ingredients. I was speechless. I'm a kitchen killer. I only know how to make dark cuisine. Elena, a rich young lady, definitely doesn't know how to cook either. Daniel's team had steak, Haruto was eating bread, and I was eating raw food. I grabbed a few leaves of lettuce and some mayonnaise and invited Elena to join me for a salad. Elena shot me a look and said, "I know how to cook." Chapter 8. To my amazement, Elena tied her long hair back, rolled up her sleeves, and with her slender fingers, she cut the vegetables with precision. I couldn't help it, so I stood by offering compliments. I praised her. "Wow, you're cutting it so neatly. Wow, it smells amazing. Wow." Before I could finish my wows, Elena gave me an annoyed look, telling me to go away. I was speechless, but still, I put aside my grievances and brought her a chair. When the other teams arrived after climbing up the mountain, they saw this scene. I was slumped in a lounge chair half asleep while Elena was preparing the food. Daniel said, "Milo, your wife is amazing." I was like, "What the hell?" He paused and continued, "You must have a good life at home." I was speechless. I didn't even know she could cook. According to the novel plot, she never touched any water, so I had no idea where she learned this skill. Everyone gathered around to watch. Only one person walked up to my side, blocking the camera with his back. It was Haruto. He wore an expression I had never seen before. Under that twisted face, there was resentment, as if he were the evil male antagonist. He didn't say a word, just glared at me with intense hostility for about 10 seconds. I was confused. Isn't his character supposed to be the one who doesn't want Elena? Why is he so hostile toward me, a minor character? Elena's cooking was broadcasted live. The comments on the live stream went wild. Some wrote, "With a wife like that, what else do you need? I'm hungry, just ordered takeout." When the seafood fried rice came out, I had to admit Elena's cooking was amazing. Not only was it delicious, but it was also beautifully plated. What's that saying? To win a man's heart, you must first win his stomach? Elena as my fake wife wasn't too bad after all. After the meal, everyone played games and chatted. I noticed that after Elena left the room, Haruto also found an excuse to go outside. Something's going on. I quickly followed them, eavesdropping. Haruto said, Elena, can I ask you for a favor? What? Isn't he supposed to be Elena's love interest? Why is his tone so formal? Unfortunately, I only overheard that one sentence, and I couldn't catch the rest of the conversation. But from what I could gather, Haruto seemed to be asking her for something, but Elena shook her head coldly. Haruto looked troubled. I slipped away before they noticed me. Carrying this new discovery, I returned to the villa. Before Elena went back to her room, I couldn't help but ask, What's going on between you and Haruto? Elena replied, What do you mean? I said, I saw that Haruto has feelings for you. You two like each other, so why didn't you get married back then? Elena's face became cold as ice. I pledged, Don't worry, I understand the professional ethics of ex-husbands. I won't say anything outside. Elena snorted and said, How do you know I like him? Isn't that the plot of the novel? How could I be wrong? I said, It's all over the internet. Everyone says you're his fan. Otherwise, why would the Lei family be so eager to promote Haruto? It's probably because she wanted her family to support her idol. Elena frowned and said, Milo, I've never lied. I was confused. What does that mean? Suddenly, that line popped into my mind. I've liked Milo since high school. Oh, it seems like the plot has taken a major detour, and as a transmigrator, I'm completely in the dark. What should I do now? Answer, adapt. First, observe. Chapter 9. I returned to the lobby on the first floor, scrolling through my phone absently, jumping between apps mindlessly. Suddenly, I noticed the official program account had posted the photos from this morning's shoot. Daniel and Jane's photos were fairly standard, the usual couple poses. What made them special was the sweetness between the two, like an old married couple. Haruto and Rina's photos were quite beautiful. One of them holding hands while running, the other a princess carry. Finally, it was my turn with Elena's photo. In the picture, I had my arm around her shoulder smiling while Elena leaned toward me, turning her face and gazing up at me. The photographer was so skilled. Even a tourist photo like this looked full of emotion. I swiped right, and the last photo caught my eye. In this one, cherry blossoms were scattered in the air above us. I was running toward Elena, and under the strong sunlight, my figure was slightly transparent while Elena's figure was in shadow. The play of light and shadow, the motion and stillness. This photo was absolutely stunning. The live stream comments were going wild. People were commenting, This photo has such an amazing atmosphere. A lonely little girl waits for the boy who's traveled back through time to meet her. I'm saving this one. I long pressed the image, and by the time I realized what I had done, I'd already saved it. Daniel was behind me, smiling with a knowing look, having witnessed the whole thing. I said, I just think the photographer is really good, that's all. I plan to save it for later and review it from an artistic perspective. Daniel gave a perfunctory nod. I wanted to grab his arm and emphasize 1,000 times that I really meant what I said. As we were talking, Elena walked down the stairs. She was on the phone, saying, Can everyone help me out and share this, please? Daniel waved at her and said, Your photo is great, but don't think you're guaranteed to win. Our team has the whole couple pulling votes. Elena blinked and said, I've been pulling votes too. The official program account had tagged Elena, and she had just registered a Weibo account an hour ago. She directly shared the program's post and added a few words, Vote for me. I was speechless. This isn't asking for votes. This is giving an order. But the number of votes for our photo kept soaring. Among the shares were not only various branches of the Lei Group, but also many high-profile figures who usually appear in business magazines. Daniel laughed and said, What's going on? Feels like you're officially announcing something. I almost want to share it for you. I was speechless. I pulled Elena to a corner, covered the mic, and whispered, Are you crazy? This huge spectacle. How are we going to get divorced now? She glanced at me coldly and said, Who said I'm getting divorced? I was stunned. What about my 2 billion? I tried to reason with Elena, but meanwhile, the viewers in the live stream were busy shipping us. The comments were full of, These two are about to sneak away for a secret chat, and what is there something my VIP ears can't hear? Speak up. The number of votes kept climbing, and by the time the voting deadline came, our team had actually claimed first place. We hadn't received the promised mysterious reward yet, but we were already hit with the next surprise. They sent, We're going camping tomorrow. Chapter 10. I paced back and forth outside Elena's door, thinking about tomorrow's activity schedule. I steeled myself and knocked on the door. The door opened, and Elena had just finished showering. She answered the door wearing nothing but a bathrobe, and it was so loose that I couldn't help but glance down at her slightly open collar. Wait, don't look. With great difficulty, I forced my gaze away and focused on the ground. I said, "You know about the camping trip tomorrow, right? The program team said we'll be staying in a tent overnight." Elena nodded, MMHM, and then nothing else. I asked, "Is that it? Aren't you worried we're going to be sleeping in the same tent?" Elena rolled her eyes and said, "Are you worried about what I might do?" What is she saying? I was speechless and replied, "I'm worried about what I might do." Elena sighed. "Oh, I'm not worried." With that, she slammed the door shut. What? How did she suddenly change like this? Wasn't she always so cautious, afraid that I might look at her? Forget it. She's not worried. So why should I be? The camping gear provided by the program was very professional, but we had to set up the tents and tables ourselves. Since our team's photo got first place yesterday, we had the privilege of choosing first. I immediately picked the biggest tent. It's for our safety, of course, but I don't know how to set up a tent. Daniel's group already had their tent up while mine was still lying flat on the ground. Elena asked, "Having trouble? Want me to call Daniel for help?" I snapped, "I can do it. It's fine." To save face, I told her to go play at the beach and not disturb me while I tried to gather my thoughts. I was squatting alone, thinking things over, when Haruto came over. He had dark circles under his eyes, clearly looking like he hadn't slept well the previous night. He asked, "You saw it yesterday, right?" I was confused. He continued, "Don't pretend you didn't see. Are you mocking me in your head?" Haruto gritted his teeth. "I just wanted to get Rina into the company, but I asked Elena to help and she refused. She used to never be like this. Since you showed up, everything's changed." I was speechless. What does this have to do with me? Haruto sneered. "You don't really think Elena likes you, do you? We're all just her substitutes." He then pulled out his phone and showed me a secretly taken sketch. This is Elena's dead love. The person in the photo looked so familiar. Wait a minute, isn't that me? I actually look a lot like Milo, except I'm not quite 185 centimeters tall. The man in the photo was basically my exact likeness. Seeing my stunned expression, Haruto smiled smugly and said, "You're just a fake." I stood up, suddenly feeling out of breath. The world spun around me and I collapsed, losing consciousness. Chapter 11. When I woke up, I felt like I might have knocked something loose in my head, as there were a bunch of random images in my memory. I was wearing a school uniform, riding a bike with Elena, weaving through the streets. The Elena in my memory was still so young, not the beautiful, worried Elena in front of me now. She asked, "Are you okay?" Her face slowly began to match the image in my mind. I hesitantly called out a strange name. "Emily?" Elena trembled, then asked, "Do you remember?" I shook my head. I could only recall the name. Everything else was fuzzy, but Elena seemed thrilled. She threw herself into my arms, burying her head in my chest. I said, "You're shaking." She trembled and said, "Don't say anything." I paused for a moment and added, "Don't get my clothes wet from your tears." She replied, "It's not that. You're just imagining things. It's the beach air, it's too damp." The others gathered around. Daniel asked, "Milo, are you okay? They said you suddenly passed out." Haruto also showed concern. "Yeah, we were talking and you just collapsed." I was really worried. Elena glared at him and he stopped speaking. I quickly tried to cover, saying, "It's probably just anemia. Don't worry about me." Jane teased. Elena was so scared. We didn't even realize what was happening and she rushed right over. I instinctively tightened my grip on Elena's hand. Daniel added, "Well, you rest for now. I've already set up the tent for you." I nodded in agreement, and then it hit me. Wait, does this mean we're sleeping together tonight? I dragged my feet, delayed until everyone else had gone to sleep, and then reluctantly headed back to the tent. Elena rolled her eyes. "You finally decided to come back? I thought you were going to sleep with Daniel tonight." I wanted to, but there were still too many questions left unanswered. I sat down at the foot of the bed. I asked, "Did we know each other before?" She replied, "MMHM." I couldn't figure it out. I asked, "How could we have known each other? I just arrived here. How could I know Elena from high school?" Then she told me a story. Chapter 12. In the first year of high school, There was news from the sanatorium that my grandfather's health wasn't doing well. Since my parents couldn't find the time, Elena volunteered and took half a semester off from school. After all, the private tutor my parents hired had already taught her everything from school. On the way to the sanatorium, there was a road lined with cherry blossom trees. It was the perfect season and the blossoms were in full bloom. Whenever she passed by, she had to be careful of the petals drifting in the air. She didn't like that road until one time when she was passing through, a white canvas shoe suddenly fell from the tree and landed right in front of her. Elena looked up. A figure emerged from behind the branches, wearing an oversized blue school uniform. His hair was messy and his big eyes nervously smiled in a crescent shape. He said, "Can you throw my shoe back up here?" Elena did as he asked. She watched as the boy put on his shoe and skillfully climbed down. His school jacket was bulging, and when he zipped it open, there was a basketball hidden inside. The boy tossed the ball over the community wall, and cheers from a group of kids echoed from inside. He said, "Little brats, if you kick it out again, I'm not picking it up." Then he casually ruffled his hair and said, "I'm Milo. Thanks for that." And that was how Elena met her first friend in South City. This boy, Milo, was always in a good mood, but he often said things that were hard to understand. For being in the wrong time is bad enough. Being stuck in high school, this is the end of me. Why on earth am I studying humanities? Isn't that just asking for trouble? Elena thought he was just anxious because of his poor grades, so she kindly suggested they study together. As they studied, she became Milo's personal homework assistant. She wanted to study with her friend, but all Milo wanted to do was read manga. Milo casually said, "Just getting by is enough. I'm only going to stay at this point for half a year, so studying won't help. Don't look at me like I'm a slacker. I'm an excellent science student, okay?" Elena could only sigh. She asked, "Where are you going?" Milo scratched his head and said, "I don't know. The system malfunctioned, so I'm running away. According to the plot, I shouldn't even be here." Before the audition, Elena understood and her eyes sparkled. "You're going to be a star. To be a star, you need an education, so when the time comes, you can come find me and I'll have my dad enroll you in an acting class." Milo asked, "You know about that?" Elena nodded. Her father ran an entertainment company, so she figured she should pay attention to this kind of thing in case her friends needed help. Milo invited her to his house for a meal. He said, "I'm making you chicken, a big feast." Elena believed him and went. When she arrived, she looked at the chicken and said, "You're stewing a whole chicken?" Milo said, "Yeah. Don't mind how it looks. It'll taste just as good once it's cooked." Elena nodded, feeling like she should learn to cook later. One day, Elena's grandfather's health took a turn for the worse. She waited outside the hospital at the sanatorium, her hands tightly clutching her skirt, her fingers pale. Milo suddenly appeared like a gust of wind. "I skipped class to be here with you," he said. Elena's parents were busy with work, and she had grown up with the housekeeper and chauffeur. She always thought being alone wasn't so bad, but in that moment, she realized how comforting it was to have someone there. The doctor came with the surgical consent form. She signed it, and Milo stood beside her, stunned. "Your name's Elena? You told me your name was Emily." Elena answered, "My grandfather gave me the name. My parents didn't like it, so they changed it." The others nearby were still in shock, unable to process it. Milo muttered to himself, "Great. Now I'm friends with the protagonist, and I've messed up the plot. I can't be the villain anymore." Milo had already died in his original world. If he couldn't possess a body, his life would truly be over. Milo said, "Don't worry, your grandfather will be fine." He decided to go with the flow and comfort his friend. He added, "I'm telling you, I'm from the future. I know what happens next." Although Milo often said things that Elena didn't understand, he never lied. Elena nodded, feeling a little more at ease. Sure enough, a few hours later, the doctor came out and said the surgery was successful and her grandfather would be transferred to a 24-hour monitoring ward. At that moment, Milo received a long-awaited system notification. "The timeline has been fixed. You will leave the plot tomorrow." Milo hesitated for a moment, but decided to tell Elena. After all, his body would soon be controlled by the system and his actions would follow the novel's script, where he played the foolish villain. The plot couldn't be messed with. If it was, he might never be able to enter this world again. His fate was now in Elena's hands. Milo said, "I'm going to tell you something that sounds completely unbelievable, but you have to believe me. It's all true. You're going to fall in love with someone named Haruto. Elena shook her head, denying it immediately. I will never like him. Milo, unconcerned, said, You haven't even met him yet. The novel says it's love at first sight for you two. Come on, stop interrupting me, just listen. Then, I'll keep chasing you until we get married. What are you laughing at? Pay attention. Elena furrowed her brow. Her delicate features were still pure and youthful, but her eyes were already full of insight. She nodded and said, I get it. I'll let everything follow the plot. Just make sure you come back soon. Milo nodded. No problem. If all goes well, we'll meet again in 5 years. Elena asked one last question. What did you originally look like? Milo said, pretty much the same as now, just not as tall. That day, after Milo went home, Elena sat on a bench downstairs in his neighborhood all night. The street light cast her shadow. The next day, she saw a familiar boy walking down from the building and walking right past her. He truly didn't recognize her anymore. Heartbroken, she stood up and returned to the sanatorium, passing by that road lined with cherry blossom trees again. The petals were long gone, and the branches were bare. Later, just as Milo had predicted, she met Haruto. So she followed the plot step by step, helping him and asking her father to help him get into the drama. The only difference from the story was that Haruto confessed to her in front of everyone. She coldly rejected him. Haruto, shocked, looked at her and asked, How is this possible? How could you not like me? Elena ordered her bodyguard to escort him away, saying, Don't ever let him near me again, or you'll lose your job. Milo had become famous, but the boy she once knew still hadn't shown up. He had said they'd meet in 5 years, but now it had been 8. Milo, you liar. Chapter 13. On the final episode of the show, the production team changed the plan. A new set of guest stars arrived, and a team was chosen to accompany the two of us to South City. It was the place Elena had mentioned when we first met. The theme the production team had assigned to us, the excitement of youth. And they had even prepared a set of uniforms from No One High School. When I saw Elena in the school uniform, I was stunned. She looked beautiful, almost exactly like the girl from my dreams. She blushed and asked, Do I look too childish in this? I smiled foolishly. No, you look just like the one in my dream. She frowned and said, You were having a proper dream, right? Don't tell me it was something inappropriate. I was speechless. The live stream comments were buzzing with excitement. Someone commented, What dream? Please explain in detail. Another person wrote, Don't miss any details. I'm free. I could listen to this all day. Elena sat behind me on my bicycle, asking me to take her to the places we used to go to help me regain my memories. I said, Just don't add anything extra. Don't start making up bad things I didn't do just to tarnish my image. Elena snorted twice. We went to the cherry blossom tree where we first met, the corridor where we did homework together, and the cemetery where my grandfather was buried. In front of the old man's grave, Elena tightly nestled into my embrace. We stood in silence for a long time before we left. I told her I wanted to say a few words to my grandfather. I said, Go a little farther, don't eavesdrop. I made sure Elena walked at least 10 meters away. Turning around, I bowed to the photo of the kindly old man. I said, Sorry for making your granddaughter wait for me all this time. Don't worry, I'll always be by Elena's side from now on, burying her. Chapter 14. After this couple's variety show aired, Elena and I became the most popular couple on the program. We were trending on the hot search every day. Countless news shows lined up to offer me scripts, but I turned them all down. I owed Elena too much of my time, and these trivial jobs shouldn't be disturbing our life together. Elena asked if we could have a wedding. I joked, We're already an old married couple. What's the point? We can just muddle through. What's the worst that could happen? Divorce. Elena wasn't happy. She pushed me away, adjusted her nightgown's collar, and criticized me for taking advantage and then trying to run away. She said, You're so irresponsible. After that, she went to take a shower, and I lay in bed secretly laughing. I had already prepared for the proposal and the wedding. I got up, had a sip of water, and on a whim opened the drawer of the bedside table. Inside was a leather-bound journal. I had a feeling it contained things about me. It read, March 2015, I can cook now. I'm going to be a qualified lazy pig caretaker. When we meet again, I'll surprise you. August 2016, Milo got into college. The person handling his data is much better than you. If you were still around, you'd probably be repeating the year. He said he was a science whiz, but I don't believe it. October 2017. There seems to be a girl getting close to Milo. You never told me if he was dating. It should be an unimportant plot line, right? But since his character is supposed to like me, he surely wouldn't be interested in other women. So I broke them up. No problem. May 2019. I met Haruto today. Just like you said, I accidentally tripped and almost fell into his arms. Luckily, I managed to stand up. But I don't like him at all. I think your plot is completely wrong. January 2020. Went back to the sanatorium to prepare for Grandpa's funeral. The annoying kids from back then are all grown up. Why haven't you come back? I almost forgot about everything that happened before. I'm almost running out of time. This part has been crossed out. I can still hold on for a while, but you better hurry. September 2020. I had Dad sign Haruto to the company. Went to the set today to visit. You said in the novel that this was the first time I met Milo. I happily prepared a bento with love, spent over an hour on it, but then I realized the person I was visiting wasn't you. Forget it. I ate it myself and just made Milo some instant noodles. November 2022. I married Milo. Every step I followed the plot you told me about, but you never kept your promise to show up. Will you ever show up? September 2024. Went to record a variety show. If you haven't shown up by this time, does that mean you won't come at all? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have joined such a boring show. So you'd better show up immediately. Is it you? I can't bring myself to have expectations anymore. Is it really you? The diary ended there. I realized my face was covered with tears. I quickly wiped them away and shoved the journal back into the drawer. Elena, I called. I ran to the bathroom door and knocked. I pulled out the ring and said, "Open the door. I have something for you." Before I could finish, the bathroom door opened just a crack. Elena's face peeped out through the gap. She frowned and said, "I'm taking a shower. What do you want?" "Oh, so that's what's going on." I nodded thoughtfully and said, "Can't hear clearly, huh? Come on, let me come in and talk to you."